Hi, welcome to Simply a Social Worker podcast. This will be my first episode. The first episode is Back to School Without Stress, Part 1, Sleeping Schedules. If you're new to my channel, you can look in the channel and see more about me, and that'll give you a little bit more information. And I'll just get right into the subject. This is audio only. From time to time, I will be sharing videos maybe and a few stats throughout the series. But I want to talk about going back to school without stress, sleep and schedules. As parents or caregivers, what you'll recognize is if you, as the parent or the caregiver, if you don't have a good schedule yourself, your children, whoever you're caring for and sending to school every day, they won't have a good schedule. And I know I said that it sounds abrupt, and I don't mean it abrupt. I just believe it's important to be direct with people. If I do not have a good schedule, my children will not have a good schedule. So the first thing that I want to just really touch on is if you yourself have a poor sleep pattern, or if you're working nights and it's hard for you to get on your schedule and the house is in some disarray, or you're transitioning, you're moving, whatever it may be, when your children are starting school, that is going to come out in your children's schedule. So one of the things that I highly recommend is looking at your own sleep schedule. If you have problems setting the schedule for yourself, it's going to be difficult for you to follow through with setting the schedule for your children. The first thing that I would recommend is set a schedule for yourself. Turn off notifications. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb after a certain time. Don't watch anything that would incite you or to keep you up all night. Some people, they're on the internet, they're on social media all night, they watch movies, and then they can't sleep at night. The first thing that I want you to consider is, what is your sleep pattern? Are you on social media? Are you listening to music that does not calm you before you go to sleep? Are you in conversations that will keep you anxious before you go to bed? I would at first look at myself and think, okay, what do I need to work on as the parent or the caregiver so that I can instill these strategies for my house, for my children, or the children that I'm caring for? So look at your sleep schedule, and if you need to tweak anything, if you need to stop listening to certain, music right before you go to bed. Some people listen to all kinds of music and think they'll be able to sleep, or have all kinds of conversation, or eat different types of food right before bed. None of that's going to help if you're trying to get on a positive sleep schedule. Some people are still learning that, and I have the grace to understand that. But I also understand the older that you get, you understand if you cannot sleep and sleep well at night, it is very difficult to have a positive day the next day. So that's one of the things that I would highly recommend. Look at your own schedule and just pay attention to it. Don't think that you can grab and can't cancel everything and try to amend things all at once. Look at what you can change day by day and just work on that one thing. Give yourself 5 to 6 weeks of, just making sure you turn off your notifications after a certain time. Don't engage yourself in social media after a certain time, listening to all kinds of music that would incite you or keep you agitated or anxious. And then think about those things and see how that works. Give it time. If you've been engaged in all kinds of activities, staying late all summer long and not engaging in a good schedule throughout the whole summer, it's not going to change in a day or two. Give it the time you deserve so that you can get on a good sleep schedule. And once you can kind of see, okay, my sleep is improving, you can tell in your attitude, you can tell in your response to day-to-day activities that happen if your sleep schedule is returning or it's improving. Give it some time. Don't expect it to change overnight. If you've been doing it 10, 15 years, or even 5 or 6 months, give it time. And then the other thing I want to say, just as a sidebar, if you have a lot of things going on, transitioning, moving, unfortunately, you may have lost a job, you may have had a recent death of a loved one, or just any kind of life change, your sleep is going to be disturbed. It's going to be interrupted. So give yourself some time to work on that. And I'm not saying it's going to change in 5 or 6 weeks, but if you began to work on it, it will. I've done this a long time and helping people strategize on what works for their life. And I know if you give it time and you begin to minimize things that do not work for you and your family, it will work. And you'll note I said you and your family. You have to first implement any strategy on yourself. You must first put the oxygen on yourself first. Work on your own sleep pattern, work on your own schedule, and think about what's going on in your family. That would be the first thing that I would say. And then begin to implement it with your children. There are certain families only give so much screen time per day, 7 days a week. They start implementing books after the children get home, puzzles, floor activities, and transition them to maybe bath time. And if you're still working on that, that's okay. Don't make excuses for it, but recognize I got some work to do. Do the work, but don't make excuses. And I say that because sometimes people will say, oh, it's not working. I don't understand. I've been doing it for 6 weeks. Are you doing it consistently? 7 days a week? Because with children, consistency will give you a return. But if you're inconsistent, you're still working on that part of who you are as a person, it will show up in your family life. It'll show up in your schedule with your children or those that you're caring for. So work on the consistency with the children as well as yourself, and then give yourself the space to allow it to work. And if you give yourself the space, you'll see the improvement day by day. You'll see the children knowing when I get home from school, I may need to do my homework, do some floor time or something else besides getting on my phone or watching TV or a video game. You may want to do some things in the kitchen and have the children in the kitchen getting that prepared. You may have them take out their lunches or getting things ready for the next day. You don't always have to surround everything with the digital experience or social media or having the TV on. The children can incorporate some things with getting maybe their uniform ready if they have a uniform, or going around the house doing chores, making sure all the laundry is brought to the laundry room. You can incorporate other things besides social media, the TV. And I know everybody's experience is not the same, but if you don't have that extra support and you're doing everything by yourself, you say, hey, well, I don't have, somebody at home when my child gets home. My child is home by themselves, or the siblings are all in the house and I'm at work or I'm coming from work. You can set up a routine in the house and do a reward system that if, talk to the older sibling. If this is done by the time I get home, of course, you don't tell them it's a reward, but you start doing things for that older sibling that they're going to look out for things while you're on your way home or you're still at work, because you have a different house system that you can't have that support in the house while you're on your way home, or even when you're home, sometimes you just need that extra support. So I'm saying, look at the age group of your children, look at the sleep pattern of your children, look at the routine that is already in the house, and don't try to change everything overnight. Don't do that. Would you like it if somebody just came in and started changing everything overnight? Of course not. So give yourself the room to start the sleep patterns and looking at what's going on in the house. I call it doing an assessment as a medical social worker. There's things that we do when we talk to clients. We do an assessment. We talk to them. We see what's going on. We gather data. That is what you do in your own house. You know it's time to go back to school. You know you don't want to be stressed out. So just do an environmental assessment. What do I have going on with me first? Do I need to get back on my schedule? And then begin to assess that. You know what you need to work on. Just begin. Don't try to do everything overnight. Just know, hey, I need to just, cut on notifications, not be on my phone, not be engaged in things that I should not be as the parental guide in the house or the caregiver. And then begin to do the environmental assessment within the house. What's going on with their schedule? Do we have a set bath time when they get their showers or get their stuff out for school for the next day, or they go to bed around a certain time, or are we all in chaos? So if everything is in chaos, you must begin to say, okay, I need to do a reset before I can implement anything. So if you know there's some things that you have to tweak yourself, begin that. Don't try to go in and make everybody go to bed at a certain time or have baths. Work on you. Because if you are steering the ship is going to go the way you go. And if your husband or your wife, or if you have a tag team of relatives that's helping you raise family members' children, whatever your situation is, and you know you need help and you can't do all of this, begin with you first. Work on what you can work on. Look at your sleep schedule. And then think, what can I implement right now? What can I work on right now? Sleep. Everybody can begin to work on their sleep schedule, even tonight. If you're listening to this, and it's, whatever time, whatever country you're in, and you're listening to this and you think, what can I work on right now? Your sleep schedule. If you work at night, pray that you get a job for daytime. I've worked at night before, and it's just a horrible shift. No other way to say it. I've worked at night, and yeah, I have nothing that I can add for that. But if you have the blessing of working, standard hours, 9 to 5, 7 to 3, even 4 to 12, that's not too terribly bad. If you have some standard hours, begin to work on your sleep pattern, seeing what you can minimize. Once you recognize what you can begin to do, just do it. No fanfare. You don't need to let everybody know. Just turn your phone on focus and put, do not disturb. Don't answer certain calls unless it's an emergency after a certain time. These are things that you can implement that you don't really need anyone to tell you, because you know what works for you. Some people, they do best when there's no noise. I like quiet. I think better when I minimize everything. But some people, they like a little background music, and they could begin whatever they need to work on for the next day. If that is you, begin that today. If you're unsure, that's okay too. So in this first episode of Back to School Without Stress, the primary thing that I want to note is look at the sleep pattern. Look at the sleep schedule. What's going on first with you? Because if you're implementing all of these ideas, and all of them are great, great schedule, everybody to bed at a certain time, you have everything laid out for the next day, everybody's on a great schedule, but you're not. So you're going to present, irritable, maybe a little grumpy the next morning. Why? Because your schedule's off. You're up half the night. You can't sleep good. So when you begin to work on whatever you're going to implement within the family, if you start with you, you'll have a little bit more empathy, how hard it is for them. You'll have a little bit more grace when they slip up and do something they know, they shouldn't have done that. But as the primary, parental focus in the house, the person that makes the rules, the person that, guides everything to make sure that we as a family, we're okay. If you first look at yourself and work on you, you would be amazed how well everyone in the house kind of just go with the flow. It's a pattern. It's what we do. It's not really something you announce. You're it. You become it. And so I don't want to, in this first episode, I don't want to, just blame or anything like that, because I'm not here for that. I am here to give you the tools to look at what can I work on with me first and my family to get my kids back to school without stress? How can I minimize any kind of external pressure so that internally within my family, we're okay? We have a wonderful baseline. We have a fantastic sleep schedule. We keep everything as the best word that I would describe is we try to target everything, and most of the time we make whatever we aim at as a family with our sleep schedule, with our schedules, pretty much 6, 7 days a week. We don't have a lot of hiccups. Look at if you're going to involve your children in a lot of these after school activities. All of those things can throw the sleep schedule off because they're so encumbered by all of these things. Look at what do I need to minimize so that they can be healthy young people, so that I am not stressed out and trying to get them or make sure they get to all these places. So in this episode, it's really about looking at me, the person that is managing the home, making sure my schedule is where it needs to be, making sure I sleep and minimize any distractions so that I can present the best that I can, so that I can impart this to my children, the people I'm caring for, and that I have a healthy schedule myself. And so that is the first part of what I want to say in the audio today, is making sure your schedule is where it needs to be. And if this is your first time joining the podcast, this is the first podcast, Back to School Without Stress, looking at the sleep and the schedules for those that are going back to school, but primarily looking at it for the parents to make sure they're not stressed out. So in the next episode, we'll talk about back to school without stress, managing the anxiety. And I'll go a little bit more into that, how children can present anxious, but also parents. In everything that I'll be discussing, I'll always have a portion in there for the parents, those who care for their children, because I know that there will be grandparents who care for their children, aunts, uncles, older siblings who care for their younger siblings. So I'm speaking to anyone that parents, that there's always going to be things that need to be amended, looked at. So in the next episode, Back to School Without Stress, we'll be focusing on managing stress and what that looks like in a home that is still just trying to minimize going back to school without stress. So I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.